advisory for folks just north of Sioux Falls, including Flander, Brookings, and Howard. Forecast tonight, we're down to
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. Just want to make sure we're up and running. Looks like we are, so thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Okay, let's wind this beast up. Get going.
105.1 Callow News Talk 1320 and now at 105.1. The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us informed.
You sound a little taller on radio. Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage Show.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. It is great to have you along on this Tuesday morning, December 17th. And unfortunately, we've got another school shooting, this one in Madison, Wisconsin. A 15-year-old has been identified as the shooter, 15 years old. That is just so heartbreaking. And it was called in by a second grade student who called 911 to report this. Can you imagine being in second grade? And this is what's going on. I mean, this is just really upside down. So Natalie Rupp now goes by the name of Samantha, opened fire inside the Abundant Life Christian School. And police say the shooting took place during study hall. There were multiple grades then in the room at the time of the shooting. And the shooter took her own life. And again, this is Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes, who was giving information yesterday regarding this. And Barnes said the second grade student calling 911, he said, we'll let that sink in for a minute. A second grade student called 911 to report a shooting at the school. And the shooter used a handgun. He said police haven't yet figured out a motive. And he said every child, every person in that building is a victim and will be a victim forever. We need to figure out and try to piece together what exactly happened. So likely we'll be learning more details, but he said, so again, there were 2 that were killed, 6 that have been injured as a result of this. The suspected shooter is herself dead. And so Barnes said, a lot has gone on today. I can tell you that it's not over, he said. I can tell you that our officers and our detectives and our investigators will have to be told to go home. No one is thinking about going home right now. They're still going to work as long as they can to find as much information they can. And he said, this is going to be a day that will be etched in the collective minds and memories of all those for Madison. So really kind of calling it a sad, sad day, something you're never prepared for. You can imagine this was a police spokesman who said this. This is something you can never prepare for. So the president spoke to the governor of Wisconsin as well as the mayor of Madison following the shooting. He released a statement saying that the events were shocking and unconscionable. And then he said, from Newtown to Uvalde, Parkland to Madison, to so many other shootings that don't receive attention, it is unacceptable that we are unable to protect our children from the scourge of gun violence. We cannot continue to accept it as normal, he said. Every child deserves to feel safe in their classroom. Students across our country should be learning how to read and write not having to learn how to duck and cover, he said. We can never accept senseless violence that traumatizes children, their families, and tears communities apart. And he went on, grateful to law enforcement for their efforts. And I think a lot of us are, very concerned about this. And again, you got a 15-year-old shooter at the middle of this. There was a question that was asked as to whether the student was the issue of transgender came up, and police did not want to talk about it. They said it was unimportant yesterday, and you can imagine. I think as more information comes out. So Natalie Rutnow identified as the shooter yesterday. So when police arrived, as you can imagine, it's a mess. They had to give life-saving measures then to several people who had gunshot wounds. And then they found the 15-year-old suspected shooter dead on the scene. And according to police, the evidence suggests that she killed herself. Just a really sad and shocking story. That's big news this morning. Also, Donald Trump holding his first news conference at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. And there were a number of takeaways from Donald Trump's news conference yesterday, but one of the things that really jumped out to me is he demanded that Joe Biden stop selling off portions of the border wall. And Trump said, I'm asking today, Joe Biden, to please stop selling the wall. We're going to use that to create a strong barrier, he said. It's very expensive. And now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we are getting ready to put it up, Trump said. How do you feel about that? And he said they're taking it from 3 stations, this was a Border Patrol agent speaking about this. He said they're taking it from 3 different stations. The goal is to move all of it off the border before Christmas. What the Biden administration is doing. And so so much for the smooth transition, right? Oh, the president promised we're going to have a smooth transition, but in the meantime, let's create all the mayhem that they're able to. And so Donald Trump says, we just can't let this take place, he said. I spoke with the Attorney General of Texas. I spoke to the senators of Texas. I spoke to a lot of people. And hopefully they'll be able to stop, he said. They're going to go after a restraining order. And he said, Trump did, this is just people that don't want this country to succeed. And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do with common sense. We won on common sense, and this is maybe one of the most egregious examples I've seen, Trump said. So no statement from the White House. They declined to comment, which is hardly a surprise. But Donald Trump touched on a number of things with this news conference at Mar-a-Lago yesterday. Drones, of course, came up, the issue of drones. And he said the government knows what is happening with all of these drones, Trump said. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, They can go right into that garage. They know where it came from, where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment, he said. And he said, I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense, Trump said. I think it's even worse than that. It's just not keeping people in suspense. And I mentioned this a number of times. Others are saying the same thing. In the absence of information, you have all kinds of speculation. And, people are speculating, could be this, and all of these rumors, and which does not serve anyone well. And Trump was asked if he had personally received an intelligence briefing on the drones. And he said, I don't want to comment on that, he said. He kind of dodged the question there, which would maybe lead you to believe that maybe he has. And this is why he's telling the White House then to be forthcoming, let people know what's going on. And so there were other questions, and Trump said, I can't imagine it's the enemy. Because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. In other words, they would be telling everybody, it's us, look what we've done, mighty America, and, So Trump is right. They would blast it out if it was an enemy. And he said, even if they were late, they'd blast it. Trump went on and said something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should. Well, I think if that's true, would be typical of this White House, unfortunately. Not wanting to share information, misinformation, no information. So Trump made a joke then too about going to Bedminster, and he said he was canceling his weekend plans to travel to Bedminster. And he said, I think maybe I won't spend the weekend at Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip, Trump says. So he's not going. Then you had John Kirby, who, what did John Kirby say? He said the government was being open and transparent, and said that most sightings involving these drones are operating legally and lawfully. He said, we assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, even stars that were mistakenly reported as drones. Kirby said, we have not identified anything, any kind of national security or public safety risk, says John Kirby. So he said, we're looking closely at the tips, collected them the best we can from concerned citizens. A lot of questions. This continues to be a huge story. So KT McFarland is a former deputy national security advisor. He told Newsmax yesterday that not leveling with the American people, that the Biden administration now is raising speculation they're hiding something. And McFarland said President Trump would have gotten on the air with the American people and said, look, we don't know what it is, but here's what we think it might be. Or it's us. We're doing a practice run. We're trying to test out new weapons. Don't be worried about it. But there's none of that. I mean, the dead radio silence you're getting from the administration. And then when they make a statement, it's so highly lawyered. Like, we don't think that it has bad intent. There's no harmful intent, but we're not sure what it is. And we don't think it's coming from a mothership off the coast that's powered by Iran. Well, it just leads to more and more questions. So you've got to wonder at this point, what are they trying to cover up? It's kind of the impression that that we wind up being left with when the White House, and again, I think McFarland is absolutely right. You can come out and say, well, it's us, and there's nothing to be concerned about, whatever these sightings. You're going to see more of them, whatever. This administration does not shine when it comes to transparency. So what's going on, we don't know. But it kind of looks like perhaps Donald Trump knows and is not saying. Well, it looks at least that way when he is refusing to answer questions if he has been briefed on this. Also, speaking of Donald Trump, he said he plans to push back on the president's move to reach an agreement that would allow tens of thousands of federal workers. This is just absolutely crazy. Will allow these federal workers to continue to work remotely. And so what the Biden administration has done, well, I'll let Trump explain. Trump said, we're talking about a friendly takeover, a friendly transition, as they like to say. This is a friendly transition, and it is. But he said there are two events that took place that I think are very terrible. One is that if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. And somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that. So for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office, Trump said. It involved 49,000 people for 5 years. They don't have to go. They just signed this thing. It's ridiculous. So it was like a gift to a union, and we're going to obviously be in court to stop it, Trump said. So here you've got the Biden administration. And again, you get somebody in the Biden administration saying, coming up with a remote work deal for these 49,000 federal employees. It's a 5-year deal, so it would outlast Donald Trump. And this is just crazy. So here comes Donald Trump. You've got on the way out the door, the Biden administration doing this. 49,000 people. Now you just go, we'll sign a deal with you, continue to work from home. Boom. No problem. And then you've got the Biden administration also selling off portions of the border wall that they have just allowed to just lay on the ground in storage. And really deteriorate, some of them just incredibly deteriorated as a result of just allowing them to remain wherever they were. Yeah, and that is a smooth transition. That's supposed to be a smooth transition. I mean, this is just absolutely crazy. Those two things have really, really kind of frustrating. Also, we have Judge Juan Merchan has rejected Donald Trump's attempt to throw out his conviction in New York State. So the judge denied the argument from Trump's legal team that in light of the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity, that Donald Trump should be exempt from participating in any court proceedings. And so, again, Merchan continues to drag his feet, slow walk this thing, move very, very slowly. And one has got to believe, honestly, I would not be surprised that if in 4 years we're still having this conversation about Judge Merchan. I just wonder if the guy likes his name in the headlines. I mean, honestly, The hatred out there for Donald Trump just eclipses anything I've ever seen. And the Biden administration and some of these recent actions, because honestly, I thought it couldn't get any worse. And it's gotten worse. I mean, it's just absolutely shocking as you look at this stuff. Also, TikTok yesterday asked the U.S. Supreme Court to block the law that could ban TikTok. They've got millions of American users. So this is regarding that measure that was passed by Congress, signed into law by President Joe Biden, would go into effect on January 19th. That's the day before Donald Trump takes office, unless the justices intervene. And the TikTok's lawyers in the court filing said the act will shutter one of Americans' most popular speech platforms the day before a presidential inauguration. This, in turn, will silence the speech of applicants and the many Americans who use the platform to communicate about politics, commerce, art, and other matters of public concerns. Well, it's not quite that dire, but that continues to be a big story. Donald Trump, kind of changing his mind in regards to TikTok, even using TikTok during the presidential campaign. And that's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. 627. Currently, we've got cloudy skies, 23 at Kello. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
Weeknights 5 to 8. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by
Okay.
Tire. See in-store details about how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Midwest Hyperbarics is now open. Experience the healing power of pure oxygen, proven effective as a treatment for the effects of acute brain injury, the healing of diabetic foot ulcers, and more. Go to MidwestHyperbarics.com to learn more. Pure oxygen, perfect pressure, better you.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Anderson picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in the bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
The best way to describe Farmers Union, this family. South Dakota Farmers Union is run by producers like myself. People can really get involved in and go somewhere with it and get things accomplished.
It put me in places that I didn't have access to before. It put me in front of people that I've never would have had a chance to be in front of.
Join us in having your voice be heard.
Join us in protecting family farms and ranches. Join the South Dakota Farmers Union.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
Slow it down.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye.
Man, I'm just having a hard time getting started today. I just woke up. I was, always feel better after my shower and my morning kick. That gets me going a little bit, but still just sluggish today.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
Areas of snow in the forecast. Sioux Falls area today, high temperature at 30, up to an inch of accumulation, but a little more than that north of the city with Brookings here on a Pipestone and a winter weather advisory. Forecast low tonight at 12, tomorrow's high at 24. More wind coming our way Thursday. From the
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, cloudy skies and 23 at Kello. Had less time than I thought there.
That opened fire on a Wisconsin Christian school yesterday, killing one student and a teacher before taking her own life. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes.
A second grade student called 911 to report a shooting had occurred at school. We'll let that soak in for a minute.
6 others, including 5 students, were injured. Still no word on a motive, but police say the shooter was a student at the school. The Biden administration will brief the House Intelligence Committee on the mysterious drone sightings. National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby.
We assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones.
That briefing is set for 2 p.m. Eastern. America's listening to Fox News.
News brought to you by Sioux Falls Implant and Sedation Dentistry. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
Kello News Time, 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. A woman was killed after being run over by a train in downtown Sioux Falls. Police say it happened around 7 p.m. Sunday night near the intersection of 8th and Weber. SFPD officer Sam Clemens describes what eyewitnesses saw.
There was a slow-moving train that was crossing the road, and we had a pedestrian that jumped the train, apparently trying to cross the train, but that woman fell from the train and was run over by the train and died on scene.
Police have identified the woman as a 29-year-old transient from Sioux Falls. Her name was not released. Sound cannons are set to be used near Sioux Falls Regional Airport to scare geese away. Officials say the migration of Canadian geese is causing a safety hazard for aircraft in the area. Sioux Falls Animal Control and the South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks Department will start using sound cannons along with pyrotechnics in order to keep the airspace clear of geese and other birds. Sioux Falls Animal Control says this is a safe and humane method. The primary spots being targeted are Quarry Ponds east of the Sioux Falls Empire Fairgrounds, the Elmwood Golf Course, and at the Household Hazardous Waste Facility. Sound cannons will go off several times during the day, but not at night. The South Dakota Board of Regents is expanding its dual credit opportunities for high school students. The Gateway Certificate Program allows high school students to earn college credits, reducing the time and money needed to earn a degree. 3 new certificates will introduce students to career paths in agriculture, engineering, and business. And in sports last night, the Minnesota Vikings are on a 7-game winning streak after taking down the Chicago Bears 30-12. They're now tied for first in the NFC North. The Vikings take on the Seattle Seahawks this Sunday. And the Sioux Falls Skyforce swept the Wisconsin Herd 115-95, earning the organization's first spot in the Winter Showcase Tournament this week in Orlando. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Areas of snow in our forecast today in the Sioux Falls area. Most of it, though, will be north of Interstate 90. High temperature at 30 with a light wind out of the east. We do have a winter weather advisory for folks just north of Sioux Falls, including Flanger, Brookings, and Howard. Forecast tonight, we're down to 12 degrees with the snow coming to an end. From the Storm Center at KEVOLAND TV, I'm Brian Karstens.
At the intersection of information and entertainment, that's where you'll find Kello. News Talk 1320, 107.9, and Kello.com.
Jesse Beck, 45 years old, recorded a selfie video 4 days before he died in a motorcycle crash, stating all his possessions should go to his brother and not his daughter. The court said that video did not qualify as a will. While much of our life has gone digital, estate laws still cling to paper. I'm Kim Commando for T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55. About half of all Americans lack wills, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. Armed with a smartphone, people are recording audio or video thinking that's good enough for a will. These, no matter how clear, usually don't count. Electronic wills are emerging in about a dozen states, letting documents created, signed, and stored digitally. But even those must be written, not recorded. Fraud, risk, and concerns about deepfakes are the problem. The gold standard remains a paper will drafted by a lawyer, signed by you in front of witnesses, and notarized. It's the most secure way to make sure that your wishes are honored. Get my newsletter at getkim.com. Hey friends, Kim here. You know, it seems the older you get, the savvier you become at saving money. I really hate to overspend on things, especially the necessities. But thanks to T-Mobile, I don't have to worry about overpaying for wireless service, so I've got more time and money to spend on other things. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a month per line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, Scam Shield Premium is included, which means fewer scam calls and more tools to help you optimize and organize your mobile life. Experience all this and more with T-Mobile, America's largest 5G network. Don't miss out. Get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for $30 a month per line at T-Mobile. Visit T-Mobile.com or your local store to make the switch and save.
With autopay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees. 25% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. See details. Capable device required for Scan Shield. Putting on Scan Block might block calls you off. Disable anytime. The Kim Commando Show. Live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires, your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Window World of Sioux Falls offers free estimates on a full line of vinyl windows. Let Window World of Sioux Falls be your one call for drafty windows. Beat the wind chill drafts that come with cold temps and call Window World Sioux Falls, who's earned the Good Housekeeping seal of approval.
In today's fast-paced business world, building relationships is key. At Lawrence & Schiller, it's about pushing boundaries and problem solving. Tired of settling for subpar results? Get to know us at l-s.com, where solutions are extraordinary.
You know, the big carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, they say free, but what they really mean is see the fine print. Now, there's no shortage of ads from big carriers, and they offer the latest iPhone quote for free. But when you look deeper, you realize to qualify, you're going to need to trade in your phone valued at $1,000, and you need to be on the $100 a month unlimited plan, and you probably are going to pay a $35 activation fee. Now, that's a lot of money for a free phone. Don't fall for it. Now, Pure Talk, which is my cell phone company, has a better option. You can get a brand new iPhone 14, which has all the bells and whistles you'll ever need, plus you get unlimited talk and text, 15 gigs of data, mobile hotspot, and you get it for $50 a month. How about that? Now, just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now. Do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Plus, when you dial pound 250, keyword save now, guess what? You know you're getting the best customer service in America. Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
Some days winter in Sioux Falls can be pretty.
And some days winter can be pretty ugly.
See what's ahead of you with up-to-the-minute forecasts.
Find out if it's snowman weather, snowstorm weather, or just no way you should drive today weather.
Kello News Talk 1320.
.638, cloudy skies, and 23. Good morning and welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along this morning. This hour brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belk's News Gallery.
Well, the big story this morning is the shooting in Madison, Wisconsin, that left 2 people dead, 6 people injured. The suspect, it was a 15-year-old, the suspected shooter is a 15-year-old who took her own life as well. So police identified the shooter. They believe opened fire then. This was at a private Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin, killing a teacher and 1 student and then injuring 6 others yesterday. Shooting took place during study hall. So there were multiple grades that were in the room. It's a 2nd grader who actually made the 911 call to police. Can you imagine that? I mean, not that there is ever a good time of the year for these things to happen, but, you know, with Christmas just ahead, can you imagine how devastated your family would be with Christmas days away? Wow, just absolutely shocking and sad, regardless of when something like this happens. So 2 people killed And the suspect, police believe she was the suspect, 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow, taking her own life. Also, Donald Trump holding a news conference yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. And he touched on a number of things. He just touched on a lot of things. I always enjoy the Donald Trump news conferences because there's always, I think, so much information coming from Trump, which is quite a contrast to the way it's been during the Biden administration. Donald Trump was asked about whether he would pardon New York Mayor Eric Adams. And he touched on that. He touched on the polio vaccine. He said the country was not going to lose the polio vaccine. This is over, concerns about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Let's get into that story in a little more detail. Kennedy told reporters on Capitol Hill yesterday that he is all for the polio vaccine. And that came a few hours after Trump had said at the news conference that Americans are not going to lose the polio vaccine. That's what Trump said. So some Republican senators said later yesterday they're going to press Kennedy to fully explain his views and his intentions about vaccines before they decide whether or not to support him. And Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski saying, and again, Kennedy saying he supports the polio vaccine. So Murkowski said, I haven't heard that. But then I guess it begs the question, is it just that one vaccine, or kind of where is it coming from more broadly? So those are the conversations that I think are important for me to have with him, because I do think that vaccines save lives. And that's the feeling of a number of senators. Senator Tom Tillis, who's on the Health Committee, said he wants to give Kennedy the opportunity to explain his views on vaccines. And he said, I think it's hard to dispute that vaccines are probably one of the key factors behind our life expectancies and eliminating scourges that killed millions of people before vaccine. So there's a lot of concern about this. I mentioned Mitch McConnell, who was a survivor of polio. I told you about this yesterday. He issued an apparent warning to Kennedy in a letter last week, writing that anyone who wants the Senate's consent to serve would do well to steer clear of even the appearance of association with efforts to rescind the approval of the polio vaccine. Senator Thune said Kennedy's going to need to explain if he supports people being vaccinated against polio. He said, I expect that's one that I and many other of my colleagues will probably raise with him. Well, I don't even think it's probably. I think it's almost a certainty. And as it should be. Also, the CEO of SoftBank has announced a $100 billion investment in the U.S. over the next 4 years during a visit to Mar-a-Lago yesterday. So he promised in a joint announcement with Donald Trump to create 100,000 jobs focused on artificial intelligence and related infrastructure. So this is huge, a $100 billion investment in the United States over the next 4 years coming from SoftBank. Also, 2 Massachusetts men who flew a drone dangerously close to Logan International Airport in Boston are now facing charges. So they were taken into custody late Saturday night on Long Island. And a Boston police officer specializing in real-time crime surveillance had detected the system. And you've seen some of the videos of these drones. You know, if you've used it, Katie's got a drone, and I can hold it in my hand, right? You know, hold it and fold out the wings and, you know, hold it in your hand. This drone is like 6 feet across and 6 feet across the other way. I mean, with multiple wings all the way around. These things are, the one that I saw was in particular was huge. Pretty crazy what's going on with some of these drones. Now would not be the time that I would be out, if I were in that area, that I would be out and flying a drone. I'm just saying, would not be my choice. So we've got more than a dozen congressional Democrats who say they plan to boycott Donald Trump's inauguration. Yawn. A number of them. Some of them are names you would recognize, others are not. And some say, I think I'm reading the comments from one who said, you know, haven't attended an inauguration in 12 years, don't intend to start now, that kind of so a number of these. Some of them are names you'll recognize, folks like Ilhan Omar and others. Meanwhile, you've got some swing state Democrats who say they will be there at Donald Trump's inauguration. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona and John Ossoff of Georgia told USA Today they plan to attend. They said both of them say they view it as a responsibility to be there. And lots of varying reasons as to why people will or will not attend Donald Trump's inauguration coming up. The Des Moines Register, more bad news. You know, Ann Selzer had this poll that Donald Trump was, you know, that Kamala Harris was going to win in Iowa, and it was horrible. The poll was horribly wrong. And there's still, I saw a piece just yesterday. I saw this piece, Selzer and other Democrats talking about it, and she is just like, I can't, you know, the information we had, based on the information we had, our conclusions were correct. You know, even though Kamala Harris winds up losing Iowa by pretty big margin, as she did in a number of other places around the country. So now Donald Trump threatening to sue the Des Moines Register over Selzer's inaccurate prediction. During the news conference yesterday, Trump talked about the legal action he would take against the Des Moines Register, and he said, I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing this because I feel I have an obligation to. He said, I'm going to be bringing one against the people in Iowa, their newspaper. She had a very, very good pollster who got it right all the time. And then just before the election, she said I was going to lose by 3 or 4 points. And it became the biggest story of all time all over the world, Trump said. So Trump saying he feels an obligation to sue over that incorrect polling. So Trump said, I think some of this is from the past, and we've covered this pretty. So Donald Trump considering suing the Des Moines Register Again, not because he wants to, he says, but because he believes he's got an obligation to do it. Also, after weeks of saying that they couldn't explain the sudden surge of drones, other unidentified flying objects over New Jersey, as well as New York, California, a few other states, federal officials then are preparing to deploy a high-tech drone detection system in New York. I've had this story for you the last few days. It's been big news since especially late last week. New York Governor Kathy Hochul on Sunday said this is the drones will help state and local law enforcement figure out what's been going on. And that story is still trending. There are a lot of news stories surrounding the drones, even though they're a little bit dated, are still trending. Also, Canada's finance minister has resigned. So she resigned yesterday, and I thought, okay, that's more of a Canadian story than an American story. So what's going on? Well, Donald Trump reacted to it. And Trump said there's a lot of shock in Canada regarding this. And so Trump says on Truth Social, the great state of Canada is stunned as the finance minister resigns or was fired from her position by Governor Justin Trudeau. Now he's a couple of things here. Donald Trump has taken now. This is one of a number of posts here recently where you got Donald Trump referring to Canada as if it's a state versus a country, and the governor Justin Trudeau. But Trump goes on to speak about the finance minister. He says her behavior was totally toxic and not at all conducive to making deals, which are good for the very unhappy citizens of Canada. She will not be missed, Trump said on Truth Social. Also, other stories trending. Former talk show host Carlos Watson sentenced yesterday to just about 10 years in prison. This is in a federal financial conspiracy case that and his company, Ozzy Media, was involved in this. One example, one Ozzy executive impersonated a YouTube executive to hype Ozzy to investment bankers while Watson coached him on what to say. And so he's received nearly 10 years in prison. Also, a former FBI informant pled guilty yesterday following accusations that he lied about President Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden taking bribes. This is Alexander Smirnov, pled guilty to a felony charge related to the story, as well as separate tax evasion charge for hiding millions of dollars in income. It's a separate indictment on that. And so now he is pleading guilty to these accusations that have been out there. Do you remember David Hogg? David Hogg, who is a gun control activist, he announced his candidacy for vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. Now, keep in mind, Hogg is one of the co-founders of March for Our Lives. He's a survivor of the Parkland school shooting. And so Hogg said, I think this role is a great way for one, bringing newer voices into the Democratic Party. I just want to be one of several of those voices to help represent young people, and also, more than anything, make sure that we're standing up to the consulting class that increasingly the Democratic Party is representing instead of the working class. But David Hogg is out there trying to represent himself as a working class American, which I just find laughable myself. But also trending this morning, one of Donald Trump's campaign advisors collapsed on stage while speaking at the New York Young Republican Club. And he's the CEO of a consulting firm, and he had been credited with helping Donald Trump engage with American youth. And in video footage, he can be heard saying, "I'm forgetting my words," and then boom, down he goes. So no word on. Apparently, he was all right. He's just the folks were quick to run up on stage, but he was getting checked out by medical personnel afterward, other people who had talked to him, and apparently he fainted. In fact, he fainted again at the hospital afterward. So hoping all is okay with him. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Currently, we've got cloudy skies and 23. You're listening to the Greg Belfrage Show.
And first to talk about it.
Thank you, my friend, for letting me join you this morning. Please come back at 9:30 for the fourth hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. We do that on Facebook as well as YouTube, so I hope to see you for that. And want to wish you a great Tuesday.
So you can inspect and bid on quality equipment with confidence. Whether you're looking for ag, construction,